It is Thursday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand, and it is perfect. Good morning. Happy Thursday, chips and salsa day for those of you keeping score at home.
Um, how do we teeter this boundary of what it means to desire competence and I guess then how would we define success, not go after perfection and yet not in the same space settle and leave things on the table that could be gathered.
So the first thing that you need to do is have a representation of what your intent would be, right? So you have to qualify that. You have to decide. It's like, okay, what would be favorable under these circumstances? What is my goal with this person, right? So if that's ill-defined, then you're in the dark already. I mean, you really have no rhyme or reason as to whether you're successful or not, right? So that has to be defined first and foremost. Then it's just a matter of, okay, that's point B, and then you have to be able to identify point A. And that's been a problem because the representative models that we're taught in school are structural reductionist models. They're based on anatomy representations that were defined 2,300 years ago, by the most archaic of methods. But it's just a matter of first and foremost knowing what you're trying to accomplish. And I don't know that anybody, I mean, I can't say that now. I've been working on this for a while, but I don't know if that's ever been very well defined as to what the real intent is, because of the emphasis on this again, limited representation of what's actually going on. If you think in levers and pulleys, then that structural reductionist model works really, really well, but it has so many limitations on it. And so again, my goal is just I'm not trying to redefine anything. I'm just trying to actually create a more realistic representation of what's happening. And therefore, my intent seems different. I mean, it's the same stuff that everybody's been doing, but with a better representative model, I think that our approach can become better defined.
I'm just now becoming aware of new perspective changes. I think it's just indicative that my assessment and the information I'm taking in and then integrating myself to form a goal or a conclusion needs to change because it's not sufficient at this point. And so I'm wondering, I guess now, as your career has developed, what has it been like, and this is for all of you, to have a significant change in perspective?
Yeah, there's a lot of cognitive dissonance in the beginning, and I kind of disagree, Bill. You have defined quite a few things, and you have a language for those principles, and because there is a language for it, you're doing exactly what people did 2,300 years ago. And that is, it's a good thing though, because I say it's a good thing because the cognitive dissonance, it really turns things upside down.
Maybe.
And now you have a new model, and it's not just a model, there's principles behind it, and those principles support your model.
Right.
And the language used to support the principles is what really drives this, and it's what makes things challenging.
But I feel like I've been operating from outside in rather than inside out, and so in some ways that's felt difficult and left me discouraged at times.
Take the emotion part out of it and just look at the outcome. and then that defines the next, right? So I always talk about taking the next logical step. What is the next logical step, right? Take your ego out of it, and that's really difficult to do because we do invest so much. You know, like if you're really, really intent on being good at what you're doing, you're investing yourself in it. There's no question about that. But the thing that you can't do is invest so much of the emotion in it, because there's these dips and valleys in there are these dips and valleys within the process. And so again, we just have to look at it. It's like, all right, what is my decision-making process? And then it becomes this, I don't want to say robotic, but it just becomes this execution. It's like, okay, I measure, I determine what those measures mean to me, and then I intervene, and then I determine what the outcome was. Based on that outcome, I know what my next intervention should be, and so on and so forth. That's how we have to look at this. Knowing full well, we do not see the reality, right? We can't see what the patient sees or our client sees. We can't feel what they feel, right? And there is always the gray area and the unknown, because of everything that we do is based off of a probability. Let's just say that that we're intervening. There's a 76% chance that you're going to be successful, and a 24% chance that you're going to fail. Okay, and you fail. And does that mean that you made a bad decision? No. It just means that there was a probability of failure. So everything that you do has a probability of success or failure, assuming that you're within some reasonable accuracy, like I said, if we can ever get there. And we have to accept the fact that there are things that we cannot impact. The things that we may be able to impact, we may not be able to identify, or we do, right? And so it makes people uncomfortable to live in a world where this probability is so obvious, because in school they said it's this. They gave you the black and white answer, and we don't work in black and white. There's a constant state of unknowns. You have no idea how someone will respond. Getting back to the whole language concept, that's why you have to be aware of how you speak to people, because that's part of the influence, right? And so their state, based on how they respond to you, is another element that influences the outcome, whether you're going to be successful or not. So if they don't like Notre Dame, guess what? You have a problem. It's okay. Like, your failure is not a failure in the negative sense. Your failure is just the outcome that told you that was not successful this time. Idea. But my process told me that's what I should be trying to do. So maybe I said something differently. Maybe they wore their lucky underwear that day. You know, it could be any number of things, right? That turn out to be this influence. Right? Doesn't that make you happy to know that you just have so little control over things? just the recognition of this sort of perspective, I think it helps us, because we stop punishing ourselves as much. You're always gonna, like I said, I always talk about the scar on my forehead from banging my head on the steering wheel on the way home, you know, every day, where I said the wrong thing. I did the wrong exercise. I could have done this instead of that, right? We always have those thought processes, but that's why that's good to have those, because the people that don't have those thoughts on the way home don't